Hey everybody, this is Dan Collins of the CUNY Kingsborough Math and Computing Department. And in this video, getting a little bit more Blackboard information, I'm going to look at the date management tool. So this is the tool that I use immediately after a course copy operation. So I'm transitioning from one semester to another. I do the course copy operation that copies all the documents and announcements and tests and assignments from the old semester section to the new semester section of the same course. And the next thing I have to do, because all the old dates are glued into all that information, I now have to update all the dates the new semester. So here comes the date management tool to make that job a little bit easier. So focus here. So the basic concept here is here's a single tool that allows you to revise all the dates in a module for a course, including announcement release dates, assignment deadlines, test availability windows, etc. So anything that's got a date on it, anything at all that's got a date on it can be automatically updated in just one single step here, and then modified or fine-tuned if you need to on a single screen in a unified way. And again, on my personal get ready for a semester checklist, this comes right after my course copy operation that maybe I had to wait an hour for, because sometimes it takes some time depending on the load on the system. But the next thing after I come back from that is to do this date management operation. Now, let me say a couple things about this, because Blackboard has not always had this date management tool that allows you in one step to modify all the dates. And as a Blackboard user of now 15, 16 years or something like that myself, the fact that every single semester I had to go in and manually, up until this tool became available about 2 years ago, I think, modifying the dates used to be the single biggest nightmare and the single biggest heartache about using Blackboard for me. And I kind of dreaded it every single semester. I'd do the course copy, and then I would have to go in and individually, every single document item, every single document, every single assignment, every single test, I would have to click into and enter and scroll down and get to the start date and modify that, and get to the end date and modify that, and submit and go on to the next test and go on to the next assignment. And I would have to dedicate, I would say, like about 2 hours per section just to go through and modify all the dates. And it was a real heartache, and really the worst thing about using Blackboard. But I think about 2 years ago, at least it came to my knowledge that this date management tool was available. And that was, boy, what a relief that was. So the fact that you've got this available now to, in just one fell swoop, just change all the dates and not have to do 1,000 different clicks to get into every single item and change it is really smart and a really great relief to many of us. So I definitely encourage that you have this in your toolkit as a long-time online tool user here on Blackboard. So pretty straightforward, but let's just look at what the process is going to be. You're going to go into your Blackboard section that you've probably recently done a course copy into. That's coming up for your next semester. You're going to click on Course Tools and then Date Management. Remember, Course Tools has quite a number of things underneath it. It's in alphabetical order, so just look for Date Management. And then what I'm going to do, or at least how I use it, is I fill in the date that the old semester started on, and I fill in the date that the new semester started on, and then the Blackboard system is going to do a subtraction, figure out what the number of days difference is, and just add that to every single date in the entire course module. Alternatively, you could manually compute what that delta is, I'll call it, the number of days difference from one semester start to another, and you could fill that in yourself. But again, as a computing person, I'm like, that's what the computer's for. I'll just let the computer do that subtraction. And then right after that, once it modifies every single date in the entire system based on that delta, you'll also have a menu that you can individually double check and possibly edit any dates that need special handling that weren't perfectly fixed up based on that. So that's it. So those are the things that I needed for many years, and I actually sent a request to Blackboard to find some way to fix what it used to be. Now you've got this very nice tool to make it mostly automatic. I guess that's all I got here. Right, so let's go to Blackboard. And coming right off the end of my last video where I did a course copy operation, I'm just focused on this one single semester module that I have here. And again, I'm taping this in June of 2020, but we're role playing as if I was working in about to enter the 2018 spring term. And immediately before I got here, the 2017 spring term material I copied into this section. So it's got documents and it's got announcements, it's got handouts, it's got tests, all that kind of thing. But the dates that are fixed onto all of those are still the 2017 dates. So I definitely need to go in and modify that stuff. I think in addition here, I think for the purpose of this video, I'm also going to role play as if I was going to start a fall semester instead. So that's the situation that we're actually in right at this moment. Is we're coming off our spring 2020 term and we're now getting ready for maybe the summer or maybe the fall term. So I think I'm going to role play switching from spring to a fall term is what I'm going to do with my dates in here. So let's enter this new module. So as you can see here, I have, it's supposed to be 2018, but I have dates on all my announcements that still say 2017 all the way down. And if I look at my my quizzes, the other thing I got here, Blackboard tests, if you like, you can see that I had availability dates here that were in 2017. And these quizzes in all my courses, they show up weekly. So if you go back and look at these all end on a Sunday night is what they did. So for me, I have assignments end on Sunday night and then I grade them late Sunday and the results are back on Monday morning for students for what it's worth. So all these dates are on Sunday nights. I would like to keep that be the case, but I certainly don't want it to be fixed in 2017. Same if I have other types of assignments, there's some kind of date attached to those. So let's do this. And usually what I have is like on the side, I've made my new schedule for the upcoming semester, probably in a spreadsheet for me. And usually on the side, I've got my spreadsheet of dates that I'll be looking at and make sure that things sync up the way that I want them to. So go under Course Tools, maybe expand this if you need to, and I'll find the Date Management tool. Here it is right here. All right. Pretty simple interface right here. So a couple different options here. Now, by default, this is one case where the default actually isn't what I want to do. So the default is just tell me the number of days that you want to adjust all the dates by. Now, to know what that is, again, you got to take your new semester date and your old semester start date and subtract them and come up with that number and fill it in this box here. So if you know the exact number of days, you can fill it in here. That's not what I do because I actually am not currently aware of what that number is. What I do is I click the top thing here where I'm going to use the course start date. I'm just going to fill in the old semester date and the new semester date right here. So the current start date, remember the dates that are currently affixed on everything just got copied forward from the old semester. So it says current start date, due to the copy dates from the old semester. So here I'm really thinking, what was the date of the old semester start? Now, for what it's worth, again, I'm role-playing as if we're going from 2020 spring to 2020 fall. And we'll just kind of talk about a little bit of a wrinkle here. Now, the spring 2020 semester technically actually started on Tuesday, March 3rd. Okay, so if everything is perfect, I guess you could possibly pick on Tuesday, March 3rd. But most of my dates are set on particular days of the week. Like my assignments and my tests, they all end on Sundays. And I want those deadlines to still be on Sundays. So for the vast majority of my dates in my system, I definitely want the delta increment to be a multiple of 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe mentally modify what the actual start date was so that it's the same day of the week. So I know that spring 2020 really started Tuesday, March 3rd, but I'm going to tell it that it was really Monday, March 2nd, so that the days of the week all sync up. Because for me, that's the critical thing that I really want to match. So I'll say, okay, basically my last semester was starting on March 2nd, which was a Monday. And if I go forward to the fall of 2020, which is, the reality for us and what I'm role-playing here for the purpose of the video, the semester for the fall of 2020 actually starts on Monday, September 14th is the actual real date. So picking two dates pretty close that the days of the week match. So September 14th, that's a Monday. So the Blackboard system will count the number of days between them, and it's about to add that to all the dates. So of the three options here, that's the one that I personally use, is the use the course start date and specify those 2 dates there, maybe modifying a little bit to make sure that days of the week sync up for me. So that's what I do. Now, alternatively, again, you could compute the number of days you want to add yourself manually and pick the second item, or you could just view all the dates in the system and manually edit them one by one would be another option. But I do this at least to begin with. Ready to get started? Yes, I'll hit start. So right this second, what it's doing is it's going through, you can see the little bar here, it's going through and adding however many days that is, increment, to every single date in my system. If I had a lot more stuff, that possibly would have taken a longer amount of time. One of the things I personally do is I think in advance about how can I minimize the number of dates in my system that I have to deal with. I suppose this bears a little bit of thought just for a second. So, I think in one of my other videos about using Blackboard tests, among my recommendations was, if you think about this, for test deployment, there's as many as 3 dates you could possibly opt to use. There's the availability start date, there's the availability end date, and there's also the deadline, the due date, right? So actually 3 separate dates. Well, if you used all of those would all have to get updated when you transition from one semester to the next. Same thing for assignments, right? There's also a start availability date, an end availability date, and a due date. In the past, years ago, I used to use more of those things. But more recently, I've decided, at least for assignments, only use the due date, right? Just leave it visible the whole semester. I don't care about that. Only use the due date is what I do, and therefore I only have 1 out of 3 things that I have to update at this particular moment of transition. For tests, I would recommend you only use the 2 availability start-end dates. Don't use the due date because for me it seems like kind of extraneous, and it's one less thing I'm going to have to update when I transition. So as you think about how do I go forward with my online teaching in the future from semester to semester, think about, can you minimize the number of dates that you've got attached to things? Because that'll save you some time at this point right now. So I don't have very many dates here. That didn't take very long here, just 2 seconds here. But however many number of days it is from one semester to the next, it just added it to everything in the system. Now I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to, if it was really, really long, this might have taken a while to process, and they would receive an email reminder once it's finally completed. But as you can see here, it's already done. I'm going to go to the next page here. And on the next page here, now you see every single date attached to every single item in the system. Not that many. I mean, for me, maybe about 20 or so. If you had more, you could filter by dates or by item types. But I'm going to look down here. Let's see. Now, there's a couple announcements here that I could probably just delete, right? There was a college closure at some point that particular semester. Probably these things that have specific dates in the titles, I would have to go and edit those announcements, like when's the final exam, I would have to go edit that. So just for a couple things here, I can see that my quizzes, right? So my first quiz happens 1 week after the start of the course, and I can see that, that's ending on a Sunday, which is what I wanted, September 24th. And then basically I have quizzes showing up on that end on the Sundays. So I guess at this particular point, right, these were equivalent to Blackboard tests. So I actually do use the start-end availability dates is what I was using. Nowadays I would try to use more due dates because that's one thing instead of 2 things. But so ending on Sunday, September 24th for a fall semester, which is what I would want. And then October 1st, October 8th, all on Sunday, October 15th, October 22nd. Okay, now, so I think what's happening here is I have a test date or something like that, and I see, what this is, it's an artifact of the fact that obviously in the spring you have spring recess. So about halfway through, right, and you see here I do have 10 quizzes, so quiz 5 is the halfway through point. Halfway through in the spring semester, there was spring recess, so there's a 1 week period when I couldn't schedule a quiz, obviously. Now for the fall semester, that'll be different. The break will be, some other time, for example, Thanksgiving. but I'm guessing that in this particular fall semester, right, I don't have to jump from October 22nd to November 12th. The next quiz should have been 1 week after the 22nd, which ought to be, I think, ending on October 29th. Okay, so all these dates look pretty good for a fall semester, except this one. This one I'm going to have to go edit independently to fix up that the holidays don't sync up perfectly well. So I'll click this Edit Dates, and I get a little interface here, right? And I'm going to fill in the dates that I actually want. And so I guess the way I was used to do that, it should have started on October 26th. I'll just get a little menu here. Go back, October 26th, all right. And I should be ending on October 29th is what I would want. So click the little calendar there. October 29th is when I want to end that. Notice that the times stay the same. So at least the practice that I used to have at the time is to have assignments end at 10 p.m. on Sunday. Now I actually, for what it's worth, at some point then I made it midnight, and now I've got it back at 9 p.m. so I can do my grading. But anyway, whatever times you used to have stuck in there remain exactly the same. That looks pretty good to me. I'll hit the check mark. A little bit of processing there, right? So I had to refresh the page there. And now I can see that quiz 6 there, the Blackboard test, was updated, and now it's ending on October 29th, which is what I wanted. And then probably I would have to edit quiz 7 and 8 and get past Thanksgiving week at least. So again, this I would want the Thursday after the 26th. So that would be November 2nd. And there you go. And the end date should be the Sunday after. That would be November 5th. All right, do that. Check that off. Maybe I'll do that one more time. So probably the 26th that seems like right around Thanksgiving. All right, so I guess I should move this forward, right? Yeah, I should move this forward again. So this ought to be November 9th when it starts, and whatever's after the 9th, November 12th would be the end of that quiz. Great. Updates. There you go. And then there's a gap in there over November 25th-ish. That makes sense for Thanksgiving. That's probably what I want. And then I bet the other dates just sync up appropriately for the end of a fall semester. I have a welcome message here. Yeah, that'd be September 11th to 24th. That seems about what I want there. Some other stuff. And then I do have some standard announcements, as you can see here. Announcements are in here. Tests are included in here. Anything with a date. And so usually I have to go fiddle with when is my final exam announcement going to appear, right? I keep the same text. I don't copy that from semester to semester, but I keep the same text, just modify the dates, just modify the headline on that. So that looks pretty good. So anyway, there's an example. So modify those dates. Again, I've got to my side here, I've got my spreadsheet of schedule for my allegedly fall semester. And that looks pretty good. And of course, if I ever need to modify anything in the future, I can just do it the standard way of going into the individual item and modifying the dates as I want to. But it's a nice consolidated place to look at all the dates of anything that's attached to anything in my Blackboard module. And I guess that is it. I guess so once I'm done here, I can just go to some other location. Maybe I'll go to my quizzes, actually. I guess I'm sort of triple checking here. So now you can see that the quiz dates are all in the fall, right? September 14th of that fall semester that we're role-playing, that we're transitioning into. And things look pretty good. So there you go. So the date management tool. Again, compared to what we used to have to do, boy, what a relief this is. Really, the worst part of using Blackboard at one point was to have to go into every single one of these separate quizzes individually and hit this and hit edit the test options and scroll down and find the start date and find the end date and modify them and hit submit and then come back here and go on to the next quiz and hit that edit one at a time. And boy, that would just take forever. So when they rolled out this date management tool, we became much more fortunate as Blackboard users than we used to be. And the other thing I'll just remind you about is, think about setting yourself up for an easy transition from semester to semester. So think about minimizing the number of things that have dates as much as possible. Even a lot of those things that I was just looking at there from 2017, my current practice, I would try to minimize a lot of that stuff. Like maybe these quizzes I would leave visible and have due dates instead of availability start and end. Certainly for assignments, I definitely do that now. For assignments, I just use due dates. I do not use the test window availabilities, and I just leave them visible for the students all semester long. And if they want to look at them in advance, that's fine. And if you want to look at them later on, that's fine. I just use the due dates, and then less stuff for me to have to manage at this date management step at the start of a new semester. So kind of think about setting yourself up to minimize your work in that way. All right, so date management. Hopefully that helps you. Again, good luck as you begin your transition, maybe to either the summer or the fall semester for your first ever transition in your online teaching. I hope that goes well. If you have other questions, as always, feel free to email me on the Kingsborough email system. And best of luck on your new semester.